Hello and welcome to The Dirt and the Divine. I'm Krisha Young, executive growth strategist, author, and advocate for living a fully aligned, unapologetic life. This podcast is rooted in the belief that every beautiful life grows from both the messy and the magnificent. Here we share real, raw stories for people who faced life's hardest moments, took radical personal responsibility, and chose joy and alignment over avoidance. My hope is that you hear these conversations and think, if they made it through and found happiness, so can I. This space is about honoring both the dirt and the divine because together they shape a life worth living. Please note that this podcast is for general discussion only and is not a substitute for therapy, legal, or professional advice. Now let's dive in. Today I have a very special guest, Michael Coss. Michael is a traumatic brain injury survivor who defied the odds after a devastating car crash that left him in a coma for over 6 months. Through groundbreaking therapies and relentless determination, he went from a power wheelchair to walking with the cane. He's the author of The Courage to Come Back, winner of the 2012 Courage to Come Back Award, and a record-setting fundraiser for spinal cord injury research. His story is one of resilience, hope, and unwavering courage. And this is just a tiny little, tiny bio, like tiny bio. Michael, I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for raising your hand to be on this show. I really think that after our little intro conversation, there's a lot here that we're going to share for people to be really inspired and, get out of their own way and really like just take some bold moves in their lives. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me here, Krisha, to inspire your audience, share my story with them, and to promote workplace safety at all times. It is my real pleasure to be here today as your guest. So thank you, Krisha, for having me here today. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Okay, so Michael, tell us your story. What happened? Tell it from the beginning.
Prior to May 18, 2006, I was living on cloud nine. I was recently married, father of twin children, and working for Molson Coors Canada as a field marketing manager. Lots of friends, teammates playing various sports, etc. Life could not have been any better, whether it be personally or professionally. And then on May 18, 2011, I was traveling from Vancouver to Kelowna to attend a work function for Molson Coors Canada when we were involved in a single vehicle rollover. So the van I was driving, they assumed that I fell asleep. It happened at 9 o'clock in the morning. There were no witnesses to the accident, but basically the van rolled and rolled and rolled and came to a stop. When they came to a stop, the paramedics that came to the scene with the firemen assessed me, assessed my family's condition, and I was transported to Royal Inland Hospital in Kamloops. From there, then I was seen by the medical staff, etc., doctors, nurses, etc., and I was unresponsive. So they flew me back to Vancouver, BC, to be closer to my family, my former wife, our children, and my parents who were living here from Quebec City the day after my accident. So I was here in comatose at Royal Columbian Hospital. My father then did research on the internet and discovered that HBOT or Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy would help me awaken from my coma of 6 months. The treatment began. My friends, co-workers at Molson, and my family across the country and friends, etc., raised a sum of money for me to undergo hyperbaric oxygen treatment, which is not proven treatment for brain injuries here in Canada, but because of the research that my father did on the internet, they do that therapy in Asia and several other countries as well. So it's proven to help people with brain injuries, etc. Krisha, after 3 treatments, my eyes opened
Mhm.
on, December 24th, 2006, and that was the start of my recovery. I've now been at 19 years at this game, going to physiotherapy, speech therapy, etc. The list goes on and on of the number of therapies that have been undertaken for me. I went horseback riding to gain core strength and balance. I went in swimming pools within water to relearn how to walk because it's easy to lift each foot in place. I've been through various therapies the last number of years, which have enabled me, to take my game to the next level. I have so much that I've lost control of my finances, friends, independence, confidence, etc. But I am happy in the morning when I'm shaving in front of the mirror because I like who I see and I like the person that I've become as a result of my injury. So my sincere thanks go to everyone who raised a sum of money for me to undergo these treatments, which gave me a second chance at life. I was in a coma, as I said, for 6 months, totally horizontal. Then I progressed to a power wheelchair, which I was in for about 5 years with a headrest, because back then I could not even support my neck up. I then progressed to a manual wheelchair, which I was in for 2 years. The next thing for me was the quad cane, a cane with 4 prongs, which when I won the Courage to Come Back award, I walked up on stage using that cane. And now, Krisha, the good news is I just use a single pole when going out into the community, to the bank, shopping, Starbucks coffee, etc. So now I use a single pole to get me from A to B. So basically, I'm saying that my quality of life is quite good now. I'm very ecstatic with the level of progress that I made in my rehab. You know why, Krisha? Because my parents were told after the accident that I would never speak, eat, or walk ever again. And now this is me now, 19 years later, doing all of the above. My quality of life is very good. I'm happy. I wake up each day with a smile on my face, ready to face the day's challenges, etc. To this day, Krisha, I still go to physiotherapy now once every 2 weeks to work with a neuro physiotherapist on body movement, positioning, head position, etc. So I'm still, today I went to the gym this morning, example, for a 2 hour workout, so I get dropped off at the front door and picked up 2 hours later. So I'm very active in my rehab, going to the gym, going to physiotherapy, going for long walks at the interval walking with my father on weekends, who is now approaching the age of 80 years old. So imagine having this level of support. That's why I wake up each day ready to face the day's challenges, and I'm happy considering what I've lost with friends, finances, etc. I am happy because of the level of support that I've had. Number one, from WorkSafe BC. Number two, from my father, my advocate, and every source of support that I've had along the way.
Yeah, wow. So let's just take a quick second here and just be with everything that you just said.
Sure.
Like you, first of all, thank you for sharing. Thank you for a lot of things. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for your determination and your perseverance and being a human that didn't let something like this, you know, define you. Like you didn't stay stuck in what happened. And we're going to talk about your mindset in a minute, because that's the most fascinating thing to me here is your way of thinking that's gotten you through this. But let's recap this for a minute. So you were driving to a work event, you rolled your
Yes.
car, the
Yes.
accident was really awful, your family was in the car with you, and then you were in a coma for 6 months. And then in that time frame, your dad was doing some research and found that these hyperbaric chambers, is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Hyperbaric chambers were used in like Asia and some other countries to help with brain injuries, but never used
Yes.
in Canada. And so they
Yes.
weren't covered here by our healthcare system or whatever. And so your colleagues raised a bunch of money
Yes. Yes.
to finance this. And you know, your parents were told that you'll never walk or eat or talk or whatever. Basically, you were just, you know, not non-functioning human,
Yes.
and you went for these treatments, and then like results, like you started to see results, but then you didn't just stop there. You didn't just stop there. Like you continued in this journey. And yes, you were supported. Yes, you had support. You had that support. You mentioned WorkSafe BC and physiotherapists and your parents, and like you know, there was a lot of support there for you, which is
Yes.
fantastic, right?
Yes.
And yes, we can't do a lot without support in life. You know, we're not like vacuums. You
Yes.
know, we do get a lot
Yes.
more done when we have support, for sure. I know I'm fully supported, and I couldn't be where I am today without the support that I've had. But there's a second layer here. And this is what I want to dive in with you is like, cool, you can have all the support in the world, but if you have a negative attitude, or if you don't believe in yourself or something, you know, like you're determined to fail, then I think you're going to
I see.
fail. You know, and your mindset was just something that just like blew me away. And there were some things you said to me in our pre-interview that just really made me go, wow, and made me look at my life and how fortunate I am, and how like kind of, you know, I haven't been fully with the most positive mindset in some things, despite me having like, you know, being very fortunate, you know. So it kind of shook me awake a little bit. And I would love to hear more about your mindset. Like, what's your thinking? What's your way of thinking? And you have a little story about like why you think the way you think, because it comes all the way back to childhood, right? But like tell us more about that. Like what's your thinking? Why do you think so positively? How did you get through all of this? And it wasn't always easy. There were hard days, right? But you know, overall, you're determined.
Pressure, very good question. I would attribute my inner drive to two things. It was when I was younger in my teenage years, living in Ontario, Quebec City, etc., playing several sports, ice hockey, baseball, soccer. So, see, I developed my winning ways early in life with sports. And then later in life, in my professional corporate career, I was in sales and marketing with Molson Canada, where my accent was. Before that was with James Schneider Meat. Before that was with Rothman's, Benson Hedges. So when you have, Krisha, the combination of your younger years, the trades that you learn through various sports, etc., and then later in life, that transpired into my corporate career, working for these three various organizations. So when you combine inner drive and support, which you just touched on, I've been very well supported over the last number of years. So when you attribute those two things, inner drive in my youth, later in life, with support, it's a magic potion, lotion, etc. That's why I can climb mountains. That's why I wake up each day with a smile on my face, ready to face the day's challenges, because I've been so well supported and because I have this inner drive. So, anyway, there you go.
Yeah. Simple, easy. Okay, bye. End of podcast. That's it, everybody. Just inner drive. But it's not simple, you know, and not everybody has those kinds of opportunities as kids too, right? Like not every kid has the opportunity to play for sports. Not every kid has supportive parents. Not every kid has those like beginnings in life. You know what I mean? And you know, and some, like for myself, I needed to cultivate a lot of that as an adult, right? Like I always had this drive and this determination, but my self-worth and my self-value is a very kind of new thing for me, you know, like relatively speaking. In the last like 15 years is only when I started to see my own value and my own worth, which is what helped me with my inner drive, and to be able to like see that, no, wait a minute, like there's something more positive here that I can like achieve and reach for, and I love myself, and you know, like I'm worth it, and all of that, you know. So for some people this might not be something that they have as children, right? And but my point is that it can be developed too. And even with your accident, like you could have, even with that upbringing and that exposure to corporate and those types of environments, you still could have been like, I'm out, man. Like this is too hard. I don't want to do this. This is like, this sucks. And I hate that this is what's happening now, you know? But it sounds to me like you just continuously chose to keep going. Just keep going.
Yes.
That's commendable. I just want to highlight that.
Thank you, Krisha, for saying that. But I would like to say this: the reason as well why I continue to wake up each day with a smile on my face, ready to face the day's challenges, is because, Krisha, number one, I continue to see small but noticeable progress with my recovery, whether it be breath by breath, step by step. So I'm still seeing progress to this day with my recovery 19 years later. Imagine. So that is what gives me my fuel and my gas tank behind me, and gives me the extra oomph, the extra push, wanting to go do one thing further, more and more. Like, do you think I like waking up going to the gym 2, 3 times a week? No, but the reason why I do that is because I continue to see small progress in my recovery.
Yeah, and it was when you said that on our intro call, that was the thing that stuck with me, is the noticing the small steps, noticing the small steps, noticing the small things. And I know that you know, sometimes that can be a hard thing for people to realize, you know, when you're doing any kind of like you know, emotional coaching, or you're an entrepreneur building a business, or you're at the gym trying to lose weight or get fit, or you're out there dating or something, you know what I mean? Like when we're embarking on something, whatever that is, you know, oftentimes we can be doing a lot of work and not quote unquote seeing results because we're looking for the big win, you know. But what about all the small tiny little wins? And why don't we celebrate that more, you know? Like we bypass that sometimes, and it's like, well, I'm not 15 pounds lighter in a week, so nothing's happened. Or I haven't met the person of my dreams yet, so nothing's happened. Or I'm not a millionaire in my business yet, so nothing's happened. But there are tiny little steps that if we're doing something every single day, we are marching towards our goal. And I do think that that is the way greatness is built, you know. And they say, what is it, that there's no overnight success, right? It's like if you somebody, you think that they're an overnight success, and then meanwhile it's like, no, there's like 40 years of trying here, people.
Like Krisha, as you just mentioned, my progress, I see my continued progress to this day, breath by breath. I could only say one word per breath before hi, Krisha, how. See, I had to breathe in between each word, but now
Yeah.
with my speech has improved to the point where so that is small progress. So I'm able to see progress breath by breath, step by step, balance by balance, etc. And that is the thing that keeps my gas up rehab tank still going, still full, is because to this day I see small progress and ready. That is, gives you the extra the extra push, drive, etc. to want to make a difference in this world.
Yeah. um yeah, breath by breath, breath by breath. and I think that invites in, a lot of presence, a lot of mindfulness and a lot of presence, right? Because you need to be more grounded and you need to be more engaged in the here and now, in order to be able to like act like to be in that, right? Because it's quite frustrating to be in that. So to be in that and have enthusiasm for it and it be the wind at your back, I think that that's a lot of deep presence and deep mindfulness there too.
Like if I look, Krisha, where my journey has come from, being in a coma for 6 months, totally horizontal, then progressing to a power wheelchair with a headrest, because back then I could not even hold my head up. For 5 years, I was in a power wheelchair with a headrest. Then I progressed to a manual chair for 2 years, and then quad gain. So you see, Krisha, it's not huge progress. It's not leaps and bounds. It's breath by breath, step by step, but it is still progress to this day.
Yeah.
And that is what keeps my tank every half gas behind me still full of fuel, giving me that extra bounce, the extra push, the ability to keep going, etc.
Yeah. Well, tell us, you've written a book, right?
I've written a book, yes.
Yeah, tell us about this book, because that would have been something that bit by bit,
Okay.
that you do. I've been writing, quote unquote, writing a book for a couple of years now.
Yes, I just found it because I have a copy right there.
Nice.
My book is called The Courage to Come Back,
Hmm.
and it's available on Amazon.ca for the world to get. I decided to write this book, Krisha, number one, to give hope, to give inspiration, but also to educate the general population about the benefits of hyperbaric oxygen for treating traumatic brain injury. Because, Krisha, without that therapy that was undertaken for me, there's no way that I'd be able to have this discussion with you. I might be 6 feet below the ground. I might still be in a coma, etc. So I decided to write this book. Chris, I'll show you a picture as well. That was my twin children just before my accident there. They were babies, so imagine to this day they're 20 years old. They are my driving force and the reason why I smile each day. So once again, my book's available on Amazon.ca for the world to be inspired, to be educated about hyperbaric oxygen. So that I believe is now my purpose in life is to give people hope, drive, purpose, and to give awareness to workplace injuries, whether you're a chef in the kitchen, a taxi driver, or someone working in a corporate office as a secretary behind the desk who could have a fall off her chair or desk, etc. So I just want to bring awareness to people being more aware of self in space, in their work environment, etc., so that they will be able to be safe, productive at all times, etc. So
Mhm. Well, tell us more about that. What is that? What does workplace safety mean? Because there's a responsibility on the employer to ensure that you are in a safe environment, right? So like if you're in some sort of construction site, you've got construction hats, there's places to go in and exit, muster stations, I think, and like construction boots and things like that, for example. In an office, there's fire hydrants and medical things around, we do fire drills in offices and stuff like that, right? Ergonomic desk seating and chairs and stuff, so there is an impetus for the company to,
yes,
and
yes.
laws even for the company to make sure that they're doing that. But what's our personal responsibility in that? Like as the employer or the person, like what's our responsibility? You mentioned like an awareness of your body, right? Like an awareness of yourself. So tell us more about that.
I think, Joseph, I think back to my accident as well. which was on the Coca-Cola Highway, May 18th, 2006. I was driving a work van from Vancouver to Kelowna when they had a single vehicle over. They assumed that an animal crossed the highway. I swerved to avoid the animal, and then the van rolled and rolled and rolled. So in that case there, like there's nothing that I could have been, I think I could have done. No one knows for sure what happened at the accident, but back to your question, I think a workplace accident, just being aware of self, slowing down, minimizing hazards, etc., having safety awareness in place, whether it be signs, drills, practicing, etc. So it's being aware of your environment, of your work colleagues, etc. What to do in case of emergency, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's pretty scary, like that you don't even know what caused the accident, because that's a thing, right? Like sometimes these things happen and we just don't even know why. You know, you still don't know, right? Like there's still nobody knows why that accident happened, right? Is what
He,
you're what I'm hearing you say. And
he,
it's the Coca-Cola Highway, I think, is it called?
correct, Coca-Cola
Yeah.
Highway.
I drove that. Well, I didn't drive it. My boyfriend was driving it. And we were coming back from Revelstoke in January, like January 2nd or something like that. And it was like 9 o'clock at night or 7 or something. I don't know. It was dark. And I was just like, dang, this is scary.
Yeah, yes, yes,
Scary.
yes.
And there were some trucks on that road that I was just like, I was saying, can you please like just stay far away from this truck? Like, let's just, my instincts were just like, what is this road? Like, what is that? And he was so great.
Yeah,
He was just like
yeah,
so like on it, the way he was driving. But yeah, it's a scary highway. It's like all on the mountains, and then like steep mountains on either side, and it's kind of like this narrowish, like very windy up and down mountain highway, and the weather changes like every 3 seconds. Well, in the winter at least anyway. I don't know what it's like in the summer. But I could see that like maybe an animal could have crossed that,
yeah, 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 yeah,
obviously something happened, right?
yeah,
That distracted you in that moment and caused you to like lose control of your vehicle, and that's pretty terrifying. And so, even like, we can be present and we can be mindful and we can be great drivers and we can be, all those things, right? But accidents do happen. They do happen. And
yeah.
it's unfortunate that this one happened to you. I'm sorry that this happened to you.
Thank you.
And also, it's like, well, I'm grateful that it created this version of you, because
Yeah,
this is really inspiring. And you're such an advocate, and you're out there. You're not just putting fuel in the tank by going to the gym every day.
yeah, yeah, yes,
Like you're also out there, like you've got this newspaper article behind you, you've written the book, you do talks, you're on a podcast, you know what I mean? Like you're out there sharing this message,
yes,
which is fantastic. So thank you for doing that. um I wanted to loop back for a quick second, about your kids, uh,
yes,
because we were talking about this in the pre-interview.
yes,
And we won't go into detail, for privacy or anything like that, but you'd mentioned that they're both adults now, and they're
yes.
marching into their careers, and
Yeah.
they've both chosen careers based on what happened because they were inspired. Tell us more about that.
All that I know now is that my daughter is studying to be a kinesiologist right now because, okay, and then her twin brother, my son, is studying to be he wants to be a fireman. So he got a trade last year at BCIT, and his eventual goal is to eventually become a firefighter. And the reason why, they chose those two professions was this. They said, that the reason why we chose those two professions is because they were two professions that have helped you in your recovery. So, fireman at the scene of the accident, I've been very lucky, supported by Worksday BC, to have the various therapies that available at my disposition: physiotherapy, kinesiology, the list goes on and on. So basically, they said that, Dad, the reason why we chose those two professions is those are the two professions that enabled you to be part of our lives and now making a difference in this world. And Krisha, I'll share this with you as well. I have been a UBC healthcare mentor now for the past 5 years. And my role with that program is this: I work with 4 future healthcare professionals, whether it's future doctors, nurses, OTs, speech therapists, and it's to share my experience in navigating through our healthcare system the last 20 years or whether. So I see that's my way of giving back, is to share how I've been treated now, navigating through this healthcare system for the last 20 years as well. I've given talks at UBC. I get invited as a guest speaker at BCIT. So there are things like that that I do outside in terms of being grateful for having been so well supported the last 20 years. And now these are my way of giving back to the UBC Healthcare Mentors Program. And when you look, Krisha, on my back wall, that was when I was presented with the Courage to Come Back award back in 2012. That was the front page of the Providence newspaper in 2012, which is on my back wall now. What I did in Tricia, I won that in 2012. And what I did in 2022 is I submitted the winning nomination package of someone who was presented with that award that year as well. So, see, that's my way of giving back. I was a former winner, and now what I'm doing, I've submitted the last couple of years 4 times, submitted nomination packages to be considered to receive that award. And so far, one person has been selected as a winner, which was Chloe Angus in 2022, and which I'm about to submit a nomination package excuse me, for next year's consideration as well. And Krisha, where I see these stories are in the morning on Global News. They highlight the stories of certain individuals like myself and these other people, and I contact them, whether it be through Facebook. I get their alignment, I get their green light, and then I go ahead and submit their nomination to be considered for that award. So this is one thing that I'm doing as a follow-up to receiving that award in 2012, is that's my way of giving back. And like I said before, the UBC Healthcare Mentors Program and me speaking throughout these schools and to these various professionals is my way of saying thank you for supporting Michael Coss the last 19 years, from this to now being vocal, engaged with people, providing hope, providing inspiration. I took the course offered by Bob Burnham, How to Write a Book in 90 Days. And this was my book that was just shown there. So I used my laptop, typing it letter by letter, word by word, page by page. I took the course, How to Write a Book in 90 Days by Bob Burnham, as I mentioned before. But with my brain injury, it took me 5 years to complete my book. Because I use my laptop typing letter by letter, word by word, page by page. But hey, I am an author to this day, as you can all see.
It's done. You did
It's done.
it. I don't know what my excuse is. Mine's been sitting here for 3 years, and I haven't been doing one letter by letter. So Honestly, you're like way surpassing me in a lot of ways here, and I'm just so deeply inspired by you. And I was thinking, the I a couple years ago I broke my ankle really severely, and it was really stupid. I was like skateboarding, and not even like fast skateboarding. I was like on a really flat, even surface. And I don't know, it kind of like had this tiny little hill, like not even noticeable. And I panicked. I freaked out, like, like, and when I put my foot on the ground to stop the skateboard kept going and my foot went like all the way backwards. So it was a very, very, very severe break. And I was in surgery and I've got plates and pins, and now there's still all sorts of issues with my ankle. Like, it's not recovering well. But I remember there were a few things that got me going through that, because I was sequestered to like my chair, like I couldn't walk, right, for a really long time, almost 2 months. And I was in a knee rover. And like I'm a very outside person, like I love being outside all the time, every day. And this was just the beginning of school time too, so it was right in the fall and the weather was so beautiful and everything, and I love dancing. And all of a sudden I'm like in this chair and like staring out the window being like, what the heck just happened here? So I had all my cognition, thankfully I had, and I had really great support. So like you're talking about, I had really amazing support at the time. Like my boyfriend and his daughters were supporting me a lot. My sons were fantastic. They would take me out for walks, taking mom out for walks. And everybody would like stop traffic as I was like crossing the street. She's not crossing yet. My ex-husband was awesome, helping out, like taking the kids to school and doing whatever he had to. People bought me groceries, cooked, like all sorts of stuff. And then I had the medical system that was really great here in BC, right? The ambulance that picked me up, the surgeon, the clinic, the foot and ankle clinic that I went to, called Footbridge Clinic, here in Vancouver. The hospital that I was seen at, like everything was just so amazing, and they were constantly calling me and making sure that I was okay. And there was all of this support, and I had this like inner determination, like you're talking about, within myself, where I was like, well, first of all, in that sequestered state is when I first started writing my book. So I was like, well, I'm not doing anything else anyway, so I might as well start writing. So that's when I started writing the book. So I used this static time to do something productive. But then I was like, oh my God, I love dancing, and my boyfriend and I go dancing all the time. My friends and I go dancing all the time. And I was just like, I this is it. And so this was September, and my birthday is the end of November. And I was like, I'm going to be dancing by my birthday. I don't care. I don't care. And so I went to physio. I did all the things. And by the time my birthday rolled around, my girlfriend I said to her, I want a gold cat suit. I want to look like I'm painted in gold. So she made me this beautiful gold cat suit. And then my boyfriend makes really funky, weird jackets. And so he made me this like custom jacket. And I was like, that's it. That's my outfit. That's my coming out outfit. And I had like this cool jacket and this gold cat suit. And I was like on my feet and like, like, yay. And I was dancing by my birthday. And, I think it was like, it was exactly what you're saying. It's this combination of the support system that was there, that I was very fortunate to have, and my own inner determination that like, no, this is not my life. Like I am not gonna, first of all, I like did not go on the painkillers. That was a big thing, because I was deeply concerned. Like I was on like morphine and all sorts of stuff when I was in the hospital. They had me there for 3 or 4 days, and I was in tremendous amount of pain. And then when I got home, I was on, I can't remember what, but whatever pills they give you, not Tylenol 3s, like way more stronger than that. And I was like, I'm gonna finish this bottle and that's it. I am never asking for a refill. And I never did. And I was like, I do not want to get addicted to this stuff because it's so easy to become addicted to painkillers, and it's easy to become addicted to misery and self-pity and like those kinds of things, like what's not working. It's really easy to become addicted to that, you know? And so I also didn't like go down the route of meds. I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna grin and bear this and do what I need to and just take Tylenol or whatever, and do physio and like, heat therapy, massage therapy, shiatsu, like other types of modalities in order to help support like my body and my leg and my ankle and all the rest of it, and then have like a rah 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 group of people around me like, you've got this, you can do this. I think that like just your story just reminded me of all of that, and I thought I'd share because there's lots of people who've had things happen, cancer or whatever, some sort of injury or some sort of illness or something like that, that without the support and that inner drive, you can quite easily fall into something that just makes it really hard to recover from.
Sorry, that I want to this is that. Sorry.
Aw. So yeah, I think that those are key points for anybody recovering from something.
Krisha, I would just like to add on that note, after hearing you talk about all these meds, etc. I used to be on so many medications, anti-seizure this, anti-seizure that, that when my father met with Dr. Beck, he said, Bob, if your son undergoes hyperbaric oxygen therapy, you must wean him off every single med because that will conflict with what this procedure is all about, therapy, all about. So my father, the doctor, put his fist on the table and said, if you want your son off every single med, you will take full responsibility for his care, etc. So my father had me weaned off all those meds, and which enabled me to undergo HBOT therapy, which is why I'm here today having this conversation with you, your audience. So if it weren't for my father undertaking that decision at that time, who knows where I'd be. The
Wow.
other thing I was going to touch base on, Krisha, was this: the therapy called the Locomat Gay Trainer, which is where I went for physiotherapy, where they placed robots over my legs, and the robots took my legs through the walking motion step by step. So that therapy, Krisha, is what retrained the brain and the body on how to walk again. It was called a Locomat Gay Trainer, and where they place robots over your legs, and the robots take your legs through the walking motion, because as you know, and your audience knows, after being in a wheelchair for 5 years, not able to walk, stand, etc., that was the very first time that enabled me to bear weight on my feet, to stand, to be able to walk, etc., using those robots. And it's because of that therapy now, today, why I walk with a single cane, whether it be to the kitchen, living room, Starbucks coffee, whatever. So local mat key trainer is what retrain the brain and the body on how to walk again.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. All of the stuff that they've got nowadays to help support us. That's really cool.
So good. I'll just interject with this, like we talked about before, having inner drive. What I wanted back then I could only say one word per breath. So what I did is I enrolled in a local Toastmasters club. I went to Toastmasters once a week, picked up by a support person. I went to Toastmasters to learn how to speak clearly, slowly, etc. My speech is still in the progress of working on to this day, but it is quite quick, but it's much more improved where I'm able to be understood now, have conversations with people, etc. So Toastmasters was again one thing that I took outside of the box to enable my game to get better and better.
Yeah, I love that. Outside the box is exactly what I was thinking. Is like, yeah, we when I was trying to get over my fear of public speaking, I did improv classes.
Yes, yes,
That's what I just like, okay, I'm just gonna do these improv classes, and because it's gonna have me on my feet and like make me like perform in front of people. um yeah, and there is a whole retraining that needs to happen between your you know, your mind and that body, right? Because those, the connections get severed. Like that's actually happened with my ankle, where I went on a really big hike on Saturday, and on some of the like big sort of like step downs, the side of a mountain trying to step down, and I'm like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I know I'm supposed to be doing something right now, but I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing. And like without handrails, without it being like obviously stairs to go down, like stairs I could go down, but for some
yes,
reason on a big like natural step, like from a rock onto the ground or a tree stump onto the ground or something, my brain was just like, I don't know what's happening here. There's like, what am I supposed to be doing again? And it was shocking how I just don't have that neuro pathway anymore. And it's when our nerves get severed, you know, when, or like yourself, you know, that laying down for a really long time, and not, if
yes,
you don't use it, you lose it or whatever, right?
yes,
Like
yes.
those kinds of things, like having to retrain. Oh my gosh, Michael, like you're literally just like blowing my mind with regards to everything that you have done to be where you are today. Not just the mindset, not just the speaking, not, it's like literally reprogramming your entire nervous system from your brain all the way down. You know, that's, this is big. This is a big deal. Which I know
Christian,
you know because you're already right. You've written a book about it and you're talking about it.
Christian, I'll just share this as well. My physiotherapist that taught me how to walk again. Her name was Pauline Martin. She set a goal for me back then. She goes, Michael, there's an event called Climb the Wall in Vancouver that enables you to, where you have to walk up 739 stairs at the Sheraton Wall Center Hotel. She goes, I would set that as a goal for you. I think that you can do it. So, Krisha, I've done that event the last 5 years, walking up step by step, holding onto the rail on the right as a guy as I propel up the stairs. And this event is done with firefighters in full gear as well. So they walk behind you, beside you, etc. So this is an annual event that I've been involved in on behalf of the BC Lung Foundation. And it's an annual fundraiser for them. So I've done this event 5 years in a row, where I keep beating my time each year as well. But
Wow.
on behalf of a brain injury survivor like myself, it takes probably 3 or 4 months of rigorous training where I walk up the stairs once a week with my father by my side. We do that in terms of practice to get the brain and the body used to these physical conditions. So anyway, climb
Yeah.
the wall, imagine. So
Climb the wall. Is that's what it's called? Climb the wall?
yeah, it's usually in February of every year at the Sheraton Wall Center
Okay.
in Vancouver as well.
Okay, well, I'm gonna look that up and go to it next year, and I'll see you there.
Okay.
Um, let me think if there was anything else that I wanted to talk to you about, because like you're just so inspiring, and it was really that perspective shift and choosing to see what's working and what's not working, or versus what's not working. You know, that really stuck with me. I wrote down, small but noticeable progress fuels the fire, gives the umph you know. And oh, and I wrote your sense of humor. I think you've got a fantastic sense of humor, you know. And
Thank you.
that helps for sure, right? I mean, when we can laugh at life, I think that that's a pretty big deal. When sometimes when I'm coaching someone, you know, if it's getting real deep and it's getting real heavy and we're really into something or whatever, and then there's that moment where they're just like, dang, you know, like that moment of realization or that moment of like, ah, snap. Then I'll let that be there because I don't bypass, but then I'll like make some sort of joke, you know, and it just kind of lightens it a little bit, you know, not a joke at their expense or anything like that, but just like something, there's some levity in there that then just goes, okay, yeah, we're here just, you know, for a short time, not a long time, you know, like, yes, there are some very serious things that we deal with in this life for sure. And for some people, way more serious than others. And also, you know, we can make light of life, you know, we can be light in it too,
Yes.
which increases our buoyancy, you know, which increases our resiliency, right? And makes us good looking because we're smiling, right? um do you have any parting thoughts that you want to share?
I would just like to say as well that if any of your viewers or audience have any questions that they would like answered, you can put my information, my Facebook contact info there, or they can redirect questions to my Facebook page, etc.
Yeah,
Or even
yeah,
uh,
100%. Well,
I would
sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
I would just like to make myself available to your audience to answer any questions that they may have based on having observed our interaction today. They may have some questions that they want answered, so I would like to make myself available to answer any of those questions.
That's wonderful. Thank you for your beautiful generosity. So what are the channels that people can get to know you and ask you questions? You mentioned a Facebook group.
I have a Facebook page. I have a Facebook group. I have my email address as well, so I can provide that with you in the chat if you want, or email. So I would like to make myself available to inspire, to give hope, to give purpose, to talk about workplace safety, or I'd be willing to share the various therapies that were undertaken for me, whether it be hyperbaric oxygen, horseback riding, swimming pool therapy, these various therapies that enabled me to take my game to the next level. So I'd be willing to speak to each of them if you want as well.
Have you heard of a group called Speaker Slam?
I have, yes.
You have. Okay. Have you like applied to speak with them? They're so cool. They're like my favorite
But well,
people.
you know what, Krisha, the only pushback I have with Speaker Slam is that here we are in Vancouver, BC,
Yeah.
and most of the events are in Toronto,
Toronto.
Ontario,
I know.
or back east. So
It's true.
bring
They do
Speaker
have some
Slam.
virtual ones. Well, you know what? They were actually one of my favorite companies during COVID, I think, because they pivoted. And that word became like a thing during COVID, you know, pivot, pivot. But it's true. Like you needed to pivot your business or you died, right? In
Yeah,
COVID.
yes, yes, yes.
And they did. And they would do these live events at, I think it was called the Lulu Lounge or whatever. I can't remember the venue in Toronto. And I'd been to a couple and they were great, like so much
Yes, yes.
fun. But then like obviously that was all shut down. And then so they turned it virtual and they ended up having like really amazing virtual speakers from around the world. So it basically opened up their business globally as opposed to it just being local in Toronto.
I met, I believe, the two founders. One was the one female,
Yeah.
and one was a male. I can't think of their names right
Yeah.
now, but I,
Dan and Rena.
pardon me, sorry.
Dan and Rena.
Bingo, yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, I got in contact with them a few years ago. But like, excuse me, like I said, it was because they were based these events in Toronto, and here I am in Vancouver. So anyway,
Yeah. Well, they're virtual now. Might be worth another little connection there. But anyhow, what we'll do is we'll put your contact information in the show notes. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, we'll do that.
Yeah,
That'll be the show
yes.
notes for people to do that quite easily. Oh my goodness. I'm so,
Krisha, one more thing.
yeah.
I was selected, I think a number of years ago, probably 4 years ago, I was selected at TEDx Surrey
Oh,
to
okay.
be a speaker at their event, which is an annual event, as you know, every year. But Krisha, guess what?
What?
Michael Coss got struck down with COVID-19. I guess that was about 4 years ago. So, and that was right at the time when I was supposed to deliver my speech. So I had to withdraw from the TEDx event. So I'm out there. I'm getting my message across. There's some people that are willing to have me speak, etc. So anyway,
Well, I mean, can't you go back and say, hey, I don't have COVID
well,
anymore? I don't know how TED works in that way, but that's awesome though. Like that you got selected. That's pretty cool. I can see why. I can see why. You're very inspiring. And I am like incredibly honored that you are here, on my tiny little podcast. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being this inspiration. Thank you for not giving up on yourself. Thank you for sharing this message to others so that, people can really get out of their own way and get out of their heads. And for even
yes,
for people who like if there's some entrepreneur who's like, I keep trying, nothing's working, or someone out there dating or trying to get fit or whatever, like we said before, anybody like,
yes,
okay, don't give up, don't give up. Get yourself a good support system and have that inner drive, right?
yeah,
And
yes,
like you
yes,
got to find that on your own. And if you are somebody who didn't have great parents or great childhood or whatever, okay, you're an adult now, like let's cultivate that all on our own, like we have that responsibility to do that, to be
yes,
our own advocates, to be our own cheerleaders, and there's so many tools and resources and people such as yourself out there to help, like, move the needle forward for us, and i'm I'm I am a small little bits every day kind of person, so even in my business and for everything that I do something small every single day. My learning from this is to celebrate those. I'm one of those people who get impatient and being like, where's the results? So I can get better with that for sure. And that's what you've inspired me for. So thank you.
well, it was a real honor and pleasure to be here today to share my message of hope, inspiration to your audience, and to really drive forward the message of be safe at work at all times, because life can change in the blink of an eye, as it did in my case at 9 a.m. on May 18, 2006. So I just want to leave that message with everyone to be safe, slow down, be aware, and enjoy life to the fullest as well, because I myself am going over enjoying life to the fullest. Even in rehab now, I go to movies, I go to Vancouver Canuck games, I go for a simple cup of coffee at Starbucks. So it's not because I'm in rehab now that life stops. I'm remain focused. I remain committed to my rehab on a daily basis. I do something 6 days a week. In the morning, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. Whether going to the gym, which I did this morning, physical therapy, going for walks with my dad, visiting my children. So there's always some kind of rehab activity 6 days a week for me.
Nice. Yep. All right. Well, let that be a lesson to all of us. Get off your butts, everybody, and get moving. Do something today. Don't complain, just do it. Michael, thank you so much. I'm grateful, and I've said it. I'll say it again. You're inspiring. I'm grateful. Thank you for being here. I'll definitely put the show note or your contact detail and your book link and all of that in the show notes as well. So thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me as a guest today to talk to your audience, to give hope, etc. So thank you, Krisha. It was a real honor and pleasure for me to be here today. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you to you, the listener and the watcher of The Dirt and the Divine. I hope that you have been as inspired as I have been today, and that you've taken away a lot of really great, juicy nuggets from this episode. If you want to learn more about me and how I work, you can head over to KrishaYoung.com. You can also find me on Instagram at the Krisha Young and Facebook Krisha Young as well. Just search me up, as the kids say. Search up my name, and you'll find me online, and past episodes as well. And if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and leave a review as well, because that will up my rankings. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next episode.